Before Ben and Jerry, Oprah and Gail, or Sergey Brin and Larry Page, there was Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, both worked at Buffett's grandfather's grocery store, but their paths didn't cross until Buffett was 29 years old and Munger was 35. To understand the most successful couple in business, it's best to start at the beginning and how they first met.
Well, want to tell the story?
Go ahead.
There was a doctor couple, very prominent in Omaha, and his name was Eddie Davis. Her name was Dorothy Davis. And it was Mrs. Davis that called me, naturally. She did everything. And she said, we've heard that you manage money, and we'd be kind of interested in listening to your story about how you do it and what we might do with you. So I went over, and I talked to him, and I was all full of myself. And I couldn't talk fast enough about stocks in those days. And Dorothy Davis, very smart, and she listened to every word. And the doctor was kind of over in the corner spinning a yo-yo or something, and I didn't pay much attention. And the wife looked over at the doctor, and he said, I'm going to give him $100,000. And I was managing about $500,000 at the time, so it was a big deal. And in a very nice way, I said, Dr. Davis, I said, you really haven't paid much attention to what I've been saying. Everything. I kind of like to know why you're giving me this $100,000. I was much more modest than that, the way I edged into it. And Dr. Davis looked at me and he said, well, he says you remind me of Charlie Munger. And I said, well, I don't know who Charlie Munger is, but I like him. And it sort of became their mission that sometime they wanted to get me and Charlie together. So Charlie, in 1959, his dad died, and he came back to Omaha. His mother lived there, and the Davises really got us together. And so they arranged a dinner. About 5 minutes into it, Charlie was sort of rolling on the floor laughing at his own jokes, which is exactly the same thing I did. So I'm not going to find anything out like this. And we just hit it off.
Charlie, what did they first tell you about Warren? How did they describe him to you?
Well, the Davises were like a second set of parents to me. There were two sets of three children. My father's best friend was Eddie Davis. My mother's best friend was Mrs. Davis. I lived in that house back and forth as though it were an alternate house of the Mungers. And Mrs. Davis gave me the honor of switching my legs when I misbehaved, just as if I were one of her own.
You probably gave her plenty of cause,
too. Anything the Davises asked me to do, I was going to do.
What did you think of Warren when you first met him?
We got along fine.
Oh, well. Both of our wives thought, my God, another one.
What I like about Warren is the irreverence. We don't have automatic reverence for the pompous heads of all civilization.
Is that something that came with age, or you guys were born with that?
We were kind of always the way. We were a little more extreme. I've learned to behave a little bit better. Charlie really hasn't learned to be much better. But, I just knew instantly Charlie was the kind of guy that I was going to like him and I was going to learn from. But, it wasn't anything calculated decision or anything like that. It was natural. And we have had nothing but fun.
I think part of the popularity of Berkshire Hathaway is that we look like people who've found a trick. It's not brilliance, it's just avoiding stupidity. And you say, well, it's the same thing, just stated differently. Well, maybe it's the same thing, just stated differently, but you understand it better if you go at it the way we do. It's to identify the main stupidities that do bright people in, and then organize your patterns of thinking and development so you don't stumble into those stupidities. Berkshire Hathaway is constantly kissing off ideas, and even about 2 seconds flat. We know we've got opportunity X, which is better than the new opportunity. Why do we want to space 2 seconds thinking about X? Many of you come from places that don't do that. You've got to have one horse, one rabbit, one something or other, and that rabbit is going to be thinking about something which would be ruled out immediately by an opportunity cost available generally to the place. But it's in a different department, and you have to be diversified, and so on and so on. So it's easy to drift into this idea that opportunities don't matter and you've got some different way of doing things that are better. It isn't better. The right way to make decisions in practical life is based on your opportunity costs. When you get married, you have to choose the best you can find that'll have you. And the rest of life is the same damn way. And you have to figure these things out if you want good results in life. And if you don't, well, you have to pretend that you can get good results in life. And if you have enough sales ability, maybe you can get by with it. Sure, there are a lot of things in life way more important than wealth. All that said, some people do get confused. I play golf with a man, and he says, "What good is health? You can't buy money with it." If I can be optimistic when I'm nearly dead, surely the rest of you can handle a little inflation. If you mix the mathematics of the chain letter or the Ponzi scheme with some legitimate development like the development of the internet, you are mixing something which is wretched and irrational and has bad consequences with something that has very good consequences. But you know, if you mix raisins with turds, they're still turds.
That's why they have me write the annual report.
I would rather throw a viper down my shirt front than hire a compensation consultant. A director getting $150,000 a year from a company who needs it is not an independent director.
Being put on the comp committee of American corporations, as I've said, they're looking for Chihuahuas and not Great Danes or Dobermans,
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not insulting any of my friends that are on comp committees.
You're insulting the dogs. It's not that great a business as a business, casualty insurance. It's a tough game. There are temptations to be stupid in it. It's like banking. Once I asked the man who just left a large investment bank, and I said, "How does your firm make its money?" He said, "Off the top, off the bottom, off both sides, and in the middle." The general system for money management requires people to pretend that they can do something that they can't do, and to pretend to like it when they really don't. And I think that's a terrible way to spend your life, but it's very well paid.
Charlie, I don't know why I'm giving you another shot, but I think I've offended enough people.
Right. There's 2 or 3 in the balcony.